Hi, and so good of you to watch this new episode of Unboxing Bowie by Harold. And in this episode, like always, a very special episode, I'm not going to discuss one item, but I'm going to discuss the year 2022. That is the first half of 2022. And all the details you can watch in the editorial underneath, in which I have put the details about what I'm going to discuss with you. 2022 was a very interesting year for Bowie because he would and he should have turned 75, which prompted the estate to develop a new logo, the Bowie 75 logo, based on the Aladdin Sane lighting bolt, which is heavily copyrighted. So if you find it on t-shirts like this, you can be sure that this is illegal. Anyway, Bowie 75 and 2022 also marks the anniversaries of some very iconic albums, 50 years or 45 years. And I'll take you through that. I'll do that in 2 episodes, so this is only the first half. Okay, 2022 starts off with 50 years of Hunky Dory. And very rightly so, Parlophone released a special edition of Hunky Dory, which is a picture disc of the album. And you see here that the logo, the Bowie logo, which is on everything they released, and you also see that it looks like Bowie has a spot on his face, but that's the center of the disc because it's a picture, but it's also a disc, so you can play it if you like. For the completist, but it's beautifully done. There's also a poster inside. Also in January, it was 45 years ago that Bowie released Low, and for that, Parlophone released a special edition, an orange edition of this album. So it's an orange disc, but it's the normal Low, so the normal 11 tracks that you can find on it. But as it's such an iconic and beautiful album, it's always worthwhile. So the orange version of Low. Now it gets interesting. As you probably know, Bowie recorded a bunch of songs of his old back catalogue of the 60s and the 70s. He re-recorded those songs in 2001 and he planned to release that album, and it was called Toy. Now, I already talked to you about the Toy box, which not only contains the Toy album but also various other versions of these songs. Very nicely done. I discussed the CD version, but there's also a Toy box vinyl version which contains 6 10-inch records. Each record contains 6 songs, so that's a total of 36 songs, and it's very beautiful, and it's bigger obviously than the CD, and that's always better with Bowie. I still don't like the cover, but it's very nice. Then it went silent up until Record Store Day, and Record Store Day 2 items were released. The Toy EP, which contains again 6 songs of the period of Toy, live versions, remixes, other endings, stuff like that. Interesting, but not very extremely interesting. Like always with Toy, it's also on a 10-inch vinyl EP, and it's on a CD. They're still widely available. But the most interesting thing of it all is this Brilliant Adventure EP, because it contains 3 unknown songs, you might say. First of all, it's a Johnny Downloader, which is a very early version of I'm Afraid of Americans, a song that turned up on Earthing. Then there's a remix of I Have Not Been to Oxford Town, which is a song from One Outside, not so interesting, but on the flip side of the album, that is the 12-inch EP, it's the flip side, and on the CD it just goes on obviously, are 2 songs with just Bowie and Mike Garson on piano for a special event at Shakespeare, what it's called, Shakespeare Festival, Shakespeare Festival, and they sang A Small Plot of Land, which is a very dark song on One Outside, and they sang My Death by Jacques Brel, La Mort by Jacques Brel. It's a very sad song in Bowie's versions, always, and especially in this one with just the piano on Mike Garson. Whereas Jacques Brel, it's a very jolly song, very happy song. So you should check that one out once if you like, because it's a very different mood within that song. So this one is really interesting because a small plot of land especially, but also my deaths are beautifully done, beautifully done. It's still widely available. So if you can get your hands on one of these, do. Then 50 years of Ziggy Stardust, released two things, a picture disc, which is upside down in mine, but that's okay, you can turn it around, it's still a picture and a disc, like once again. So a picture disc of Ziggy Stardust, but also for the audio files there's a half-speed master. Probably it sounds better because it's mastered at half speed, and so you can press the sound in the grooves a bit better. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Anyway, half-speed master or picture disc for the complete disc and the audio files. And then we finish this half episode off with Moonage Daydream. This is a film by Brett Morgan, who had access to the files, all the archives of the Bowie estate, and he made a film out of that in which Bowie talks and Bowie sings, and you can see a lot of his paintings and stuff, and it's very interesting. A lot of papers and magazines gave it 5 stars. I wouldn't do that because in my view Brett Morgan would also go by the name of Dexter Morgan, because he really slashed Bowie's career by omitting so much of what Bowie did. Nothing about the time before Space Oddity, nothing about Tin Machine, and nothing after 97, 98, something like that. It was really, to me that was a shock. So I'm not really a fan of this movie, but you should go and see it if you like Bowie, obviously. And what you also might do is buy this one. This is the soundtrack of the film. It contains a lot of rare versions, edits, new stuff, live versions, and if you want to relive the movie, it's very nice to put this record on, I guess. If you're a vinyl addict, you should wait until March the next year, because then the vinyl version on 3 discs will be released. So that's the first half of this year. I'll be back shortly with the second half. Don't forget to subscribe and to like. And as always, enjoy the music, enjoy the weather, and God bless.